So welcome to Satsang today. It's always got that feeling for me of this kind of family gathering, when we gather for Satsang like this, it's got that wonderful feeling of communion and togetherness. So thank you for your presence in Satsang. And as always, just before we dive into today's subject matter, just to remind ourselves of the value and the importance of what we're doing here or non-doing here, which is to come to an experiential understanding where we're directly experiencing who we really are, because who we really are is something much different to what we might have thought. In fact, you couldn't get any more different than what we thought we were, what we actually are. There's only one of us here, and it is talking through many bodies at once, and all these bodies at once. And it comes to Satsang, this one being, because in human form, it tends to get a little confused about itself and get all kinds of crazy ideas. So we're just here to remind ourselves, and we do that through this kind of gathering community, because we can know mentally what we are, but to really know is to be it, to live as it, more and more each day until there seems to be no place in our life left where we're living from and as a separate someone, the old experience of ourselves. So I'm just going to dive into today the questions that have been sent in. If you have a question that you don't quite feel brave enough to ask here live, or a question that you'd rather ask anonymously for various reasons, then there is the capacity on our website on the Satsang page, helenhamilton.org, and click on the Satsang page. There's a link there that you can fill in a form, and it'll be read out anonymously like these ones. So we can't guarantee we read all of them out. We'll do our best, and please try to keep it concise. Makes it easier to get to them. So I'll get started with these. I'll see if I can get through 2 or 3 of them, and then I'll open it up to see if there's any sharings, questions, or anyone wants to do any inquiry or contemplation or anything here today. So this first one is very concise. It simply says, why does the formless bother to take form? Concise enough even for me. So what we really are is formless and infinite, and it can also appear as form. You're formless, invisible, intangible, everywhere all at once, more like the sky and the space than an actual thing, but also appearing as all these actual things like a human body and the planet and all of that. So why does the formless bother to take form? And I don't know, really. Never found the answer to that one. I can say it doesn't bother to take form. It's not a bother. It doesn't take, and I know that might just be a word you've used, but it stuck out when you wrote this in my consciousness. Why does it bother to take form? Like, what's the purpose or point of it? And really it doesn't. It's just its nature to it is the nature of the formlessness to move into a form, to appear as a form. The shapeless, infinite reality likes to play with shapes. It doesn't exert any effort to do that. Just as the sky doesn't exert effort to form into a cloud, the water vapor that's there but invisible suddenly appears as visible as a cloud. No effort is being exerted in that. And if you boil water, it steams and turns into vapor. There's no effort involved in that steaming. It's just natural for hot water to form vapor. It's totally its nature. So you could say that's why there isn't really an answer to why. And the mind, of course, wants a why. Why bother? If the Infinite formlessness is completely self-sufficient, self-effulgent, complete and total. Absolute joy, absolute peace, deep, deep, deep silence and stillness, fulfillment beyond anything we can experience in the world of form. Why does it bother with form? Really, you could say that it's not even really doing that, because form and formless are one. Those words eventually come to mean the same thing. You could also say for the joy of it, because it just likes to do that. You could also say in the manifestation, when it's already taken form, it's on a kind of a mission to evolve and understand itself. And you can see this through the progression of evolution, through the Darwin's evolutionary procession and theory. You can see that is the self coming to understand itself, and human beings are by far not the most intelligent species in the universe. There are way more intelligent beings than us. That's a whole different conversation, but it's on this kind of mission to understand itself. And when it takes a human form, it can have satsang, it can have a conversation like this. It is as it is, but when it takes a human shape, it can ask why it is and how it is and where it is and all of those questions. All of that's to say I can't really give you an answer to that question, except that it can't not take form. It's equally able to express itself both ways, form and formless. It's infinite and infinite potentiality. And if you had infinite resources to create infinite shapes just to see what each one is like, and you were infinitely creative and curious, wouldn't you have a play like that? Wouldn't you do this? Wouldn't you explore? So maybe that gives you something to go with. I don't know. I have come a long way from meditative practice and observing my body, but find the contemplation and self-inquiry unintuitive and awkward. It seems to be an egoic mental practice, and I have resistance to it. You gave me advice about resistance before, but I never did it. I tried asking about the resistance, and I got silence for a second or two, and then a mental answer, which I know wasn't it. Like, silence is between all my thoughts. Why is silence after an inquiry or contemplation question different? Nothing changed. I would say it's pointless if so many people didn't vouch for it. So let me start by saying that you feel exactly the same as I did when I started. I first came across self-inquiry probably going on 35 years ago. No, must be 25 years ago. And I thought it was a lot of nonsense. And it literally was nonsense to me at the time. I thought it was pointless, really. I mean, I know what I am, right? I am me, I am Helen. So I thought at the time. So it's not uncommon. In fact, I can count on one hand the number of people I've ever come across who didn't have resistance to self-inquiry and contemplation when they first encounter it, because it's a different way of understanding, a different way of experiencing, a different way of coming to answers than we're used to. A total counterintuitive move to just ask a question and not try to get an answer. And for me, this took a lot of getting used to the fact that the space in which the question and the answers appear, the phenomenal answers, could actually be more important as an answer than anything else. And you said it here. I'm not surprised you didn't sort of apply the advice. Nothing wrong with you at all, but the resistance wouldn't let you at that point. You asked for advice, I gave it. It wasn't applied because the resistance was still too strong. But here you are asking again. And that's really good. Because there's a sense that you're missing out on something here, and I understand that. So I'm going to ask you just to be willing to hold the possibility that you might not have seen what it really is. That what we think self-inquiry and contemplation is not what it actually is. And could I be wrong about it? I'm willing to wipe the slate clean and be open to an actual understanding of what it is rather than thinking about, you know, what your mind thinks about it. And that's what you've written here. Silence is between all of my thoughts, and it isn't any different, it isn't special. And then I get silence when I ask a contemplated question for a moment, the silence. And then I tried asking about the resistance, and I got silence for a second or two. And I got a mental answer. So right there, your question was answered. You ask what this resistance is, there is silence. And of course, mind doesn't value that silence, so it starts talking over the silence. And that's okay, but as you've pointed out, that silence is in between all of these words right now. In the background of our thoughts, there's silence. Underneath, inside, all around my words right now, silence. And until we're willing to look again at silence, why is it different after a contemplation or inquiry session, that silence? It isn't. It's just trying to bring attention to that silence, which is always here, that we haven't really valued. When I first listened to the silence, one of the meditative doorways to access what is real about us, you could call it silence, you call it stillness, consciousness, presence, beingness, God, self, capital S, divinity, power, Brahman, whatever you want to call it. When I first recognized it's just the silence that's always here, I was utterly, bitterly disappointed. I think I went on a tantrum for about a week at least. Like, this is the thing I spent all these years searching for. And it's just this silence that I've been listening to all the time, which is utterly pointless, boring, normal. And I feel cheated. I felt angry. I felt like I'd wasted all this time pursuing something that was just insignificant when I found it. After my week-long raging tantrum, I think it was a week, I don't know, I started to realize that maybe if all the sages and saints had been singing its praises and praying to it and wanting to be it, wanting to give up everything that they were thinking for it, that maybe I hadn't actually really experienced that silence in its fullness. I'm using the word silence here because this is what you've written. You could use consciousness or awareness or any of the other words I just used. Presence. Presence, I'm here. So what? Big deal. I am present, mind will say. Awareness, yep, I've got that. No big deal. I know what awareness is. So if silence was the very first answer to your question about what resistance is, and even before I ask the question, what is resistance? The silence is there already as an answer. It is the space in which the question arises. It is the only constant, undisturbed by sound, the absence or the presence of sound. My words, in fact, help to point to it, meaning by the presence of sound, you can recognize that which is not making a sound. We overlook it, we undervalue it because it's just always, always, always here. And our habit as human beings is for attention to go to thoughts and that which moves and shouts and jumps around for our attention. And that's normal, of course. And that's why we meditate, to bring attention back to the silence, listen to the silence. with the willingness to realize it must be at least as interesting as the sounds, at least. And if it isn't, maybe I haven't really met it yet. I still haven't met it fully yet, and I never can, but each time I meet myself as silence, it's just ever more beautiful, magnificent, radiant. This is the same silence that I first encountered as dull, boring, insignificant, unimportant, irrelevant, just necessary silence for the words to appear in. That was its only function and purpose. And that has gradually flipped total 180, where all the words you could ever speak and all the thoughts you could ever think are worth absolutely nothing compared to this. Not that they're worth less, but... And I had to fall in love with it. Why is silence the first answer when you ask a question? Why is silence here as the question's asked? What does that mean? So could you be missing, overlooking the most important thing ever? Could you be assuming things about the silence that stop you really fully experiencing it? If we're coming to silence with the attitude that it's irrelevant, unimportant, just necessary background stuff, or the space in the room is just necessary for the objects to appear in, can we really experience its fullness and its magnificence if that's the filter we're coming with? If that's what we're experiencing silence through, that it's... Of course, this isn't perhaps meant, I'm putting it as conscious thought here so that we can examine it, but most of the time it's just a background attitude we have. And all human beings don't value that which is constant. We're taught to ignore it, in fact, completely, and focus only on that which is temporary and moving and changing. So what if you've been utterly wrong about this thing, but your thoughts about it have stopped you experiencing it in its fullness, just as I had to really look at this? And I remember the day that I don't remember when it was, but I remember the day I really got this. Really got this. It wasn't like a super magnificent moment where there were fireworks and angels and, Krishna didn't knock on the door and say, well done, Helen. It was just, I've never really heard silence actually without thoughts. And I just started to cry because I realized how utterly arrogant I'd been. I'd been using all of my energies, not on purpose, just arrogant by accident, all of my energies and focus to block out the silence and focus on the moving phenomena only. This is a long answer to your question, but hopefully it inspires something. The very same silence between these words is the very same silence that all of the sages and people like Rumi and Kabir have written poetry about, that all the bhajans are sung about. All the praise goes to this silence. It's what we're all seeking, and we have found it, but have we really seen it? It gives me goosebumps when I think about what happens when you really ask this question. Silence can appear as resistance, or silence can appear as all of this. Why is silence the most important answer? Now, there's a really important question, isn't it? So it's not pointless, even though mind says, because you see people having results. And of course, if you can accept that it's not your fault at all, that you haven't valued the silence as yet fully, because we're not taught to do that. And that's what satsang is, really. It's a place where we come to worship our real self, our real nature, more than a reverence for it, more than the phenomena that are arising out of it. We're hypnotized, transfixed, fascinated with objects. Really only two objects, our thoughts and our body, most of all. And that's okay, but You're here in Satsang because you're sending this in because you've had enough of that. It's too small. So I dare you to ask this question. Why is silence the most important answer to any question? Or stillness or consciousness, whatever word. Whatever question you ask of me or yourself, there's awareness of that question. There's awareness before the question, during and after. It's the constant answer that never leaves. Before you even ask, the answer's there. Before you even know you need to ask, the answer's there. So, okay, I'll go to one more before I carry on ranting about that. A situation, excuse me. I get a little passionate about this, sorry. Not sorry, actually. A situation at work due to a mistake I made, which was in breach of a couple of teaching standards and a pattern of not always being able to regulate my emotions with my manager, which my manager wants to see an improvement of before signing me off for another 3 years on my teacher registration, has left me feeling so bad about myself. I'm doing your Dissolving the Ego course, which I can feel is undoing so many beliefs, including being the one searching for enlightenment. But I just can't stop my mind from brooding over the situation and believing that I really have damaged the trust and confidence of everyone I work with, which is so painful to feel in my body. If it's all me, was it a situation I had to go through for my own soul's evolution? Or was it due to my beliefs of not feeling like I measure up, not feeling like I can trust myself? I have turned these around into questions including, is it really true I can't trust myself? Which I've been asking for a while. I have had some really open and light experiences with this, but still fall back into the hole again. Do I just accept this is going to happen and focus my attention on space, or keep questioning? I'm confused because with everything else, I feel so happy. It's like a heavy load bearing on my chest tonight. I feel so fearful of losing my ability to teach, as not only is it my income, I love it. Could it be resistance from my own ego even? Sorry this is so long, but I just wanted to capture it all. Love you so much. Thank you, Helen. So, love you too. And you said, is it a situation I have to go through for my own soul evolution, or is it a belief about not feeling like I measure up? Well, those are both the same thing. Your soul wants to let go of this belief now. And so you experience this thing, which reminds you of a belief that's inside. This event is a mirror image, not the cause of how you feel. And this is lesson 2 of the course, right? You'll have studied this. So this event is not the cause of how you feel. It's the mirror image. It's the reflection. So this pops up for you to remind yourself that there is belief still in here, and you question that. Is it true I can't trust myself? And you're having some openings with that question. But you've also mentioned fear here as well. I would look at that one. Mostly what I'm getting from this is the idea that someone, if you read back what you sent in, or maybe just listen to what I've said, read out, there's the idea in there that someone outside of you can make a decision which can cause your life to change in here. Can you hear that from what you've written? And of course, we all think that way. Of course we do. Your manager can make a decision that directly affects your life. And that is exactly how it seems to be for all of us. There's something out there, outside of me here, which is the cause, and it has an effect in here. Again, lesson 2. And as we swap that over, we see that the cause and effect are the same thing. If I believe that there are other beings outside of me that have ability to make a decision, change, or affect my life, that's what I experience. And haven't we all been experiencing that over and over again? But if the realization of the self is showing you that you are your manager, weird, I know, but then you are both human bodies, well, all human bodies, but both of them in this situation. Can this be true then, that you are powerless over this? Something's happened, and now you just got to wait and see what happens out of it. And you've got no control over that. No wonder that feels terrible. Absolutely terrible. So if you can, when you can, I mean, it might have resolved since you sent this in. It was, I don't know when you sent it in, but a couple of days ago at least. But what happens if you remember that you are not separate here? You're not a separate self, separate to your mind. You are the you are the infinite self. And maybe this has happened to allow you and your manager and your colleagues to actually develop an even deeper trust in you, that they're asking you to do this work and look at yourself in terms of regulating emotions. They've asked you the question and you're willing to step up and say, yes, I'll look at this. So they're coming to see that they can rely on you even more than they thought previously, that you're a really good person who will take responsibility for what needs looking at and look at it, that you're willing to do whatever it takes to, that's good for you, of course, as well, to show them how much you value this teaching career. So have a look at that. The contemplation always works, always. And if you seem to fall back in the hole again, it is only that you haven't really found the exact belief that really needs questioning. There might be some, it appears to be about worthiness, but maybe it's actually about powerlessness, feeling separate to this other being that seems to have control and authority over you. And in a worldly situation, your manager does, of course, but ultimately, are you a separate being out of control here or not? You get to decide where you're going to take a stand from as often as you can. Of course, you'll slip back into the old ways, but fearful of losing your ability to teach and, of course, your income with that. That's also a good question. Can I really lose what I am? If you are a teacher, that's what this body and mind is doing, your body and mind, whichever way it's doing that. Can you lose that? When you went for that job interview and they shook your hand and said, congratulations, did that make you a teacher? Or they stick a name badge on you or something, or give you an office or a class of students? Is that what makes you a teacher? Or is it fundamentally before that? And if it's before that, if it's the way the self, the infinite self, is expressing itself as you, can you lose that? So hopefully that helps. Okay, I've got one more, but if anyone would like to ask a question, Kirja, hope I'm saying that correctly. Lovely to meet you. You're still muted there. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Hi.
Lovely to meet you too, Helen. Hi.
Did I pronounce that correctly, Kirja? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Close enough?
That's perfect. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just so nice to meet you. I have done your course and I have been writing on the Facebook group. So
you've been doing amazing.
Yeah, I don't feel like it.
You know, sometimes doing amazing is just getting through the day, isn't it? When there's a lot of fear or shame or guilt, it's like, I made it through the day without losing the plot. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And right now I have a hard time trying to find the right belief.
Yeah.
And I know I want to find it so I can get some relief, and that's not the way to do it. I just
it's one
thought
reason.
maybe
let's not discount that. We also want relief, don't we, from suffering?
Yeah.
We want to find the truth, and that's one motivation for contemplation or inquiry. But also, we're human beings. We want to feel better, of course. Yeah. We can do it for both reasons.
Yeah. And right now I just have a lot of tension and anxiety. And from the minute I wake up, it's this fight and flight mode all day long, and I try to hide myself so no one will know how I feel. And yeah, it's just a struggle.
But here's the self talking to me right now. Self put their hand up and said, I'm about done with this. Can you help me get through it? Because, so something thinks it's hiding, but is that actually happening?
Yeah.
Just pointing that out, because here you are.
Yeah.
And you could have quite easily not put your hand up.
Yeah.
I'm sure,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't even the small me. I can see your point.
And I'm only saying that because mind likes to make it into absolutes. I'm either moving beyond this fear or I'm not. And it's sure that you're not getting anywhere. But you're actually talking here live on a satsang with me, which is probably at least slightly scary, if not, terrifying. But you haven't let it stop you. So
I feel pretty safe here with you.
Good. So you're already breaking through it to some degree. And how can we speed that up?
Yeah.
So there's tension in the body. There's this kind of emergency response going on.
Yeah.
But how do you want to look at that? Do you want to just kind of gently ask it what it needs to tell you? Or is there a question that comes up that you want to look at? Do I need to hide, really?
Yeah, I have this question that keeps coming back around, am I capable of this grown-up life? Can I handle everything you need to do in this grown-up life?
Yeah.
That's one question, and it has been with me for years now. And the other one is, are there something wrong with me? Is there? I don't know how to say it.
Yeah. I suspect that's the same question underneath. Huh?
Yeah.
But which one do you want to go with, just for the sake of our conversation today?
I think the one about, can I handle everything I'm supposed to handle in this life? Because that's
Sorry, go ahead.
That's a returning question.
Yeah. Well, let's just ask this then. Just asking it inside yourself, can I really handle all this? And we're not working hard at all. It's not our job to find answers. We're just going to sit with this question, you and me. We're just sitting in your room together with a cup of tea. Can I really handle all this? And we're just going to see what happens with this question. And we're not going to discard any answers at all, even mind answers. They're absolutely fine.
Yeah, I get a little sad. I can.
So kind of an emotional answer, a little sadness.
Yeah.
Just doing your best to feel that emotion. You don't have to be superwoman with it. Just, of course, you don't want to feel it. But also just letting it be there, that sadness, and coming back to the question, can I really handle all of this?
Yeah, and then I get a mind answer like, yes, of course, you're already handling everything.
Yeah. And mind
I still don't feel it. So yeah,
that's okay. We're just noticing the various types of answer, and we're not fixating on any of them. So we've had an emotional answer, we've had a mind answer. We don't need to do anything with any answer. We're just letting them come. Just reminding yourself of the question inside. And just like you're sitting and watching a movie, you're not sort of participating, you're just watching, seeing what happens, letting the question do the work for you.
I actually feel a little relaxation. It's like it's a good thing that it's out in the open.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it. Feels
Kind of
actually
a
kind of nice.
physical answer in a way. There's just a little relaxation. And again, that's not the right answer. There's no right or wrong. We're just open to answers, staying with the question. Can I really handle all of this?
Yeah. Yeah. I get a mind answer that again, that of course you can. You have already handled everything for so long.
Yeah.
And then I get another answer from the mind, like you just need to be relaxing around everything.
So the longer we stay with this question, the more generally positive the mind answers become, more encouraging, less critical, although they may still be sort of negative mind answers from time to time.
Yeah.
Of course you can't handle this, there's something wrong with you type of thing. So we're just letting the question work, do the work, noticing the answers. Some answers feel better than others. And we're just letting them all come. There's no goal to this. There's no final perfect answer. Just coming back to the question.
And it's like during the whole time we have talked, it's like this, from this back place, I can hear this silent voice, and I get emotional because it just whispers, you're doing fine. You're doing everything fine.
And you are. This is a deeper kind of answer, isn't it, than the mind answer? It's still not the right or the wrong answer. It's just an answer from a deeper part of you that speaks to who you really are. And it's okay that your mind has no clue really about this question.
No. My mind just wants to feel safe.
Of course it does. Of course it does, because it really feels unsafe.
Yeah.
It really believes that, and it's okay. But in asking this kind of question, we just give space for that deeper part of yourself to become more obvious. Usually we tend to listen to the first one or two mind answers only and fixate around those. And therefore we keep experiencing those.
Yeah.
And the emotions and the tension in the body that comes with those answers. We literally live them out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have been so fixated on trying to find the right answer to the mind so it can settle down.
It's normal, isn't it? We all do that. We're taught that if I ask you a question, there's one answer you're supposed to give me. And then when you found it, you're right. And if you haven't found it, you're wrong. So it's just turning around that habit that actually the question is more important than any answer.
Yeah.
Question itself is freedom in the end. When I'm asking a question, I'm open and I'm not suffering. Even though emotions have come up, you're not suffering through those emotions because you're not resisting them.
Yeah. No. And
go ahead.
Yeah, I haven't been able to ask such a questions on my own, so it's really good for me to practice this with you. I've been so fixated on the answers. and
It's
not
just
just
a
letting
habit,
everything.
isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't. I can feel there's some peace in not knowing the answers, or
Quite quickly you arrive at a place where you don't even care about the answers,
yeah,
because they're just happening inside you, not to you. And as you stay with the question more and more each day, the answers become ever more beautiful and remind you of who you really are. They're not really that important. They're just nice. Because the question itself is freedom, isn't it? Just to be open to actually see what's true, rather than experiencing the assumption that you're unsafe and that you're not good enough. And of course, if you believe somewhere deep down that you're not good enough, you're also going to feel that you just cannot handle all of this. And at some point, everyone else is going to find that out. That's the fear and the tension, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just to actually look at it and go, you know what? I'm actually just going to find out if this is true. That in itself is a huge relief. Because until we ask the question, we're assuming it is true. And you found something inside yourself today that really can handle everything. And I mean everything. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it told you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, I could feel that. It came from a more silent place.
So don't make mind's answers wrong. They're just not quite so helpful at this stage. They're answers, but they're just, you wouldn't go to the software on your computer to try and figure out how to run your life. It doesn't know how to do it. So mind is like the software for the body, but we've been thinking somehow that it can manage everything else, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a relief to mind. Oh God, that's not even my job to sort that out. Phew.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll take these 3 hands that are up and then we'll leave it there for today. So Robin, when you're ready.
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Another Sangha member in a Sangha which I host asked me to ask you this question because she is too nervous to ask you this question herself directly.
Okay.
And this question is about nervousness, being nervous. She noticed in the Satsang last week that you also said you were nervous. And she wants some help with this.
Yeah.
And as I'm asking this question for her, and as we're all one, then this must also be in me. Although
And me.
I don't feel nervous asking you questions, but inquiring a little bit into it, I noticed that last Sunday during the book club, when I was reading for Anish, I felt very nervous because I thought people are going to compare me to Anish.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pronounce the Sanskrit words correctly. And as I looked into my own nervousness, what was coming up was comparison, not being good enough, all these old patterns.
Yeah.
But what I'd really like your help with is to help this person who feels nervous all the time and cannot speak like I'm doing right now.
So it's very, very normal. And as you mentioned, I still every now and again feel it. It doesn't hold me back now. I've had to kind of, given what I do, I've had to look at it head on and have to keep looking at it head on. So that's one thing I can't avoid looking at. But it's, as you said, when you looked at your own nervousness, it's just a mild, or, well, we say mild, a mild word for fear, let's just say. We could call it anxiousness, nerves, fear, anxiety, whatever we want to call it. And it is usually fear of judgment, isn't it? As you've said, comparison. So if I I'm a Sangha member and I want to ask a question in a Sangha, or ask me a question live like you're doing, it's opening ourselves up immediately for our mind to say, well, what if you ask a stupid question? Or what if Helen says, don't, I'm not going to answer that, or it's pointless or irrelevant? Or what if everyone else is thinking, why is this person asking this? It brings up all of this kind of comparison to others. And it's very, very normal. In fact, if you ask most people what is their major fear, after fear of death, it would be fear of public speaking. The majority of people would answer that question with that answer. So it's really about being seen, being heard, fear of others. Because if there's others, I might be judged. And I had to look at this a lot, an awful lot. To the point where it's mostly completely gone. Every now and again it pops up again, but it doesn't stop me now. And also, it's almost kind of cute, that little human corner of my consciousness where I get a little nervous. It's okay, totally. But if it's inhibiting our growth, our speaking out, our asking questions, then we can take a look at it. And for every one person on Sangha who puts their camera on and asks a question, for those that don't know, the Sanghas are gatherings run by students for students. There's probably another 5 people at least who can't put their camera on and can't ask anything. And that's totally okay, totally normal. Nobody's going to expect you to speak or ask you to until you're ready. And I would just suggest asking this question, is there anyone else to judge me? Is there really anyone else? How does it change your experience of being in Sangha when you realize it's you talking to you constantly? That there's just one being talking here. And that in that understanding, there's nothing to be scared of. And of course, don't expect everyone to immediately leap to this experiential realization, but just to deeply question this. What is it I'm scared of? Exposing myself to others usually, because then I'm open to criticism, judgment. But if there aren't any others, any other beings, is this still the case? And there are other bodies, admittedly. But if it's your own self speaking through all those other bodies, begin to have a different experience. Of course, we've all experienced being judged by others harshly and criticized. And that's a reflection of our own, what we're holding inside, our own judgment of ourselves. So as you realize there is only yourself everywhere, you see that what's happened to you before has been a reflection of that belief that there's others. And you start to experience, like this community, a very loving community that is moving beyond judgment and criticism and just more about supporting and nurturing. So that'd be the core of where I'd question it from. Am I really a separate someone with other beings? Am I really, is there 47 of us right now in this satsang, or is there one? Because if I really believed there was 47 people, 46 listening to me, I'd be terrified right now. I'd have to, it would be inhibiting. So it's only because I've really deeply experientially come to understand there's only me and I'm safe, that I begin to experience love and acceptance coming back rather than judgment. So I hope that helps. And well done for even reaching out to ask through Robin. And over time, and thank you, Robin, for bringing this forward. Over time, I hope that you can move beyond it.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin. Nicholas?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So it's lovely to speak with you. I wanted to speak with you for a while.
Lovely to meet you.
I asked the question, the first question.
Right.
That. And
the form and formless.
I started laughing hysterically at your answer because I asked the question and I got because I am. And everything I asked about it, I kept getting because I am. And then someone said, about being the manager, and I thought of a meme. And I realized I'm all of it. So I kept laughing hysterically, but I kind of came out of it a bit. I've kind of got a little bit of it there, but then I got like this shame, like that I'd done something wrong, like I was doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
You sound very certain of that you're not doing it wrong.
Yeah, I'm not, but
Good for you.
I think I am, but I'm not. Like I've got this shame and these emotions in me. And yeah, you know, I had things I imagine saying if I was here, but it's just, I guess it's all meant to be how it is, because it is. My life, and the last woman speaking, I can't remember her name, I related to what she was saying about this feeling of being a failure, of doing all wrong, of not being enough, not being able to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And I've felt that so much. And I guess I feel like I don't trust myself, that I'm gonna react well to. I was immediately thinking, oh, what if this is my Satori? This is my awakening, right? And then I started thinking, oh no, what if me thinking that is making it not that? I don't know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's
this thought loop that's just chasing its own tail going around, like trying to figure it out. Yeah.
There's decisions I need to make, or maybe I don't, or things I want to work out or do. My attachment, my desire gets in the way, and it's just like, what does it? And maybe I don't need to worry about getting it right. It just, I'm all of it, right? I'm the viewer. It's my mind speaking, whatever. Like, and I'm the one I'm viewing. So yeah, I mean, it's all going to work out. It all does. I mean,
it all is working out already. So now that you've had a clearer seeing today of who you really are, the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to be shown all the ways that you still think that's from the old perspective. What if I'm not good enough? What if all that stuff? What if I'm just imagining this awakening and it's not really occurring? It's just so that you can look at that stuff now from what you've seen. Is that actually true, really? Am I not good enough, really, from what I've just experienced about myself? They go, oh, look at that. That's how I used to think. The mind will say, look at this now for me, please. Because if you're not really that person that can get it wrong, then you start to relax about decisions that need to be made. They'll get made and they'll be fine, as you said.
Question that comes to mind has come to mind before, and I think I know the answer, is why have I got thoughts arising about being a victim? Interestingly, the answer comes up because I am, as if I am a victim, but that's not what it is. It's I am everything. So I'm that as well as the opposite. Like,
yeah.
So I'm free, and I am. Apparently, I think I'm powerless. So yeah, I mean,
there's another one we hold on to, right?
Literally, I am, or being, or consciousness, or love is the answer to it all, no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing when I ask in the silence.
And you can take any shape and every shape. And some of those will be ideas. You'll take the shape of a human being feeling unworthy or feeling not safe. And just to experience that and come out of it, to see still the same essential consciousness, omnipresent being that you always were, just starting to come out of fascination with some of these shapes you've made.
And that takes time.
Does it?
It doesn't. What I mean, it takes time. It doesn't. Yeah, I think. Were you joking? I don't know.
Yes and no. It seems to take time because life will present these ideas to you like it just has immediately. You had this seeing, then there's some shame. So it seems to, But you're catching on really quickly. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Does it really need to take a lot of time or any time? Right now, you're free. Even if you go back into believing an idea about yourself, you're still free. You're just free with your eyes closed, going, I'm not free. Oh no, wait, I'm free. I'm stuck. I'm free. Still, all the time, you are completely free. Just imagining ourselves to be bound.
It comes back to the determinism thing, because on one hand, you might say, well, maybe it's all I am choosing. So like this small experience for me is just going to happen this way. But then it doesn't have to. It can happen now, or it could happen in 20 years' time or a year's time. But then there's this pressure in my mind. It's like, that means I can get it wrong. That means I could mess up. But then that's not true. So I don't even know how I can choose to make it faster, or I could choose not to make it faster. And I could, yeah, sure, you're the infinite self, not seeing that you're the infinite self, if that's what you choose. But so yeah, you could say, oh, it's fine, because either way it's perfect, but I don't want it to feel shit while still being the infinite self.
Yeah.
And that's probably why it's happening, because I want it to be okay, like it's not okay.
And of course you want that now. Of course you want that right now.
Why am I impatient? Because I am.
You're impatient because you don't want to believe in time anymore, and progress and evolution. You want to be this now, right now. And what's stopping you?
I am.
Are you?
Why?
I'm not just, I'm not just being argumentative here. I'm having my role is to kind of point at the assumptions that are going to manifest if we don't question them. So are you actually not yourself right now? The self?
No, as in, yes, I'm, wait, I know what I mean to say. I'm agreeing with you, I think.
Yes, I can feel that. And could anything change you, make you not that self?
No.
Have you ever not been that self?
No.
Even in your wildest imagination, when you were really sure that you were not the self, you were still it, right? The infinite self.
Yeah.
So could the most important thing now then being just coming back to that remembrance? Whoop, I was off on a tangent again. Let me just remind myself, I am. With the full understanding of what those two words mean. Not I am. This is. And that just kind of stops all the craziness in its tracks.
So if ever there's craziness,
You're imagining something that isn't true. Yeah.
Then be still and know I'm God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can't be still, in that moment, be crazy, be absolutely lost, be totally tangled up in thoughts, and you'll come straight back out of it again.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You sure you don't just stay more embroiled in thoughts?
You might have to experience that one to believe it, but
Do I need to stop resisting my resistance for a trend?
Yes, just do that one thing. If you're grumpy, be really grumpy. If you're irritable, be really, really, just really be it. Whatever you are, be it. Whatever your body and mind is experiencing, be it as fully as you can, and there'll be effortless peace and joy.
Be it, not do it.
Not do it, because what are you actually doing? If the whole universe is appearing in you, what are you actually doing? Are you even doing this awakening thing? Or is it just happening in front of you? There you go. Now you got it.
This is happening in front of me. Wait a minute. Yeah. I'm having this conversation right now.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm not even self-conscious about it.
No, because there's nobody to be conscious or nervous or all that stuff. later you might watch this back and go, oh my God, I did, like, you know, because your mind will start thinking about it. But, you know, right now, you're having a conversation with yourself, and everyone listening is yourself. What's there to be scared of?
All right, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Very brave. Thank you. Last but not least is Nikki.
Hi, Helen. Thank you.
Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to talk to you, at least. I mean, we've met before, but
We have. I've just gone blank all of a sudden.
that's okay too. We'll just sit and stare at each other and drool a bit.
So I love some of the teachings, what he's showing us how to do, the stuff what you've learned, and yeah, and passing that on so we can follow that stuff too, for my own awakening, as we call it. Yeah. And I was in some at work the other day. I love the zooming out, how simple that is. That's beautiful.
Good.
Effortless. And just being aware of that space, what the only thing that's the most important thing. Instead
I think
of,
we all overlook, yeah.
yeah. And I was in a resentment at work the other day. I read one of your little posts, be whatever you are in this moment, whether that's sad, feel sad, if you're happy with it. And I just got total freedom from it. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was
like I was just saying, if you're grumpy, be grumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It just passed through instead of me holding on to it. I was going to write about it and seeing where it was coming from. And I just allowed myself to feel it all there.
Yeah.
And it subsided. It was beautiful. There was some,
Wonderful.
there was something in a teaching the other day. I don't know if it came, I'm saying to you now, I don't know if it came from judgment, but I think it come from judgment. Okay. So we had, I understand consciousness lives on after this body goes. And then I heard about we get reborn, but we come up against the same stuff. I'm thinking, how does anybody know that? How does that? So that was, and like I've tuned into teachings, and that's what my head just gets onto it. And I start judging it and playing with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but because you could say mind's role is to suggest the next topic to get obsessed about until you realize it experientially, because it's been obsessed about waking up to the truth, and here you are doing it. And then it's obsessed about fear because it wants to get rid of it. So you sort of get to that point where you move beyond fear. And now it's obsessing, I mean, that's just an example. Now it's obsessing over this subject for you. And is that something going wrong? Or is it just kind of, all right, we want to realize this now experientially. I don't want to think about it anymore. I want to actually remember what happens between lifetimes and, you know, what has happened in previous, not incarnations as a separate someone, but the individual, not separate, individual consciousness that makes you as part of the whole, keeps getting these human bodies and then losing them so it can learn, you know, and evolve, etc. Of course, there's going to be curiosity about that, right? When you realize, hang on, there's a whole lot more going on than I've realized, and I'm missing out on this show. You know, this season 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I've only seen season 1. Of course, you're going to want to, you know, and the spin-off and all of that. So just recognizing that mind can't find an answer, but it can suggest a topic. It doesn't realize it can't find an answer, so it obsessively thinks about something. And you go, oh, there's a lot of thoughts about that subject. Maybe I should get really curious about that and open myself, capital S, up to answers about it.
And I think the thing is, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but it's also nice to know, isn't it?
I'm seeking truth.
Yeah. So you're resting us both, that place where there's nothing else to find out. You're done. End of. And you're also a human being with desires and curiosity and stuff that you're fascinated and interested in. Can you just be both of those? Because the infinite silence, where there's nothing to know, nobody to find it out anyway, and you're already complete and total and fulfilled, and you're also the infinite signs appearing as Nikki, and all the things that makes Nikki Nikki is whatever you get obsessed over. So I want to know, but not for any particular reason. It just seems like fun. And this, in the manifestation, it's just an endless discovery and deepening against a background of there's just nothing going on at all, really, here. And your life becomes like a paradox in that way, but it's not a paradox when you're experiencing it, you know?
So Nikki's felt a little deepening. And he knows the freedom, what's there. Sorry for talking in as a third person.
Fine, absolutely fine.
I want more of it.
Of course you do. Of course you do. You'd have to be bonkers not to, right? The moment you get a taste of freedom, you're like, I want that. And I want it more, and then I want it constantly, and then I want it effortlessly. And you see all these great sages in the scriptures going, oh, reality is amazing. You go, I want that. Of course you do.
It's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. And it is reality wanting to know itself, dressed up as Nikki. So of course it's going to want to know. Of course you want more, deeper, but less and less from a place of trying to get it and thinking we have to do it, more and more from, I might not fully experience this moment. Maybe there's more, you know, like a turning inwards rather than a trying to get somewhere. Just an infinite deepening. You let this body go, eventually you can get another one, and forever and ever and ever and ever, the deepening will continue. It's infinite. But you learn to just relax along the way with that. It's fun. When there's no imagined final point where I'm awakened, I'm just reflecting the truth even more each day. There's no point where the Buddha's going to show up and give you your enlightenment badge and say, well done, my son, you know. Yeah, now you're officially in the club. You're just like more and more conscious of who you are each day, and that never stops deepening. And it's beautiful. It's the end of seeking and the beginning of discovery, curiosity, right? And it's happening for a different reason, isn't it? That
What do you mean it's happening for a different reason? Oh, end of season.
Yeah, we came to the pathway to avoid suffering, to escape fear, death, all of that stuff, which is normal. But somewhere subtly along the way, it changes into what actually is reality? What am I? Like, can I ever really fully say I've seen that? And so mind that's completely disappointing when it finds out it can never fully see. But to the self, the infinite self, it's like I could spend the rest of forever exploring myself and never fully see it. And that's delightful and awe-inspiring, and like Christmas Eve every single day, like perpetual Christmas Eve, and whatever's going to be opened in the wrapping paper the next day, the only thing you know about it is going to be better than it was yesterday. Of course you want that, you know. We all do. We're just looking for it in whichever way we're looking for it as human beings. Through food, through money, through career, through sex, through relationships, whatever, you know, whichever way. And then finally through meditation, awakening, and all of that.
Thank you.
Did we get there?
We did.
Good. Wonderful. Good to talk to you.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so wow, powerful questions today. Thank you all for participating and being here with me. Thank you all, me, for being with me, whichever. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,